Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, welcome back everyone to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And we are immediately starting off on the right foot because if you were here on the last episode, you may have known that maybe I had a little bit of some technical difficulties. But hey, the good news is though is that not only am I back, but as you can see right over here, the chat wall is also back. It has returned. It is alive and well. So I don't have to go and try to work things around that little situation. But now you can see the chat is still alive. Like all the words are popping up. So it has returned, and I'm glad to see that people are happy to see that. And also like the little notifications right over here. Thank you, Jay Monty, for that gifted sub that you have done. So now everything is back to normal, and I try to make sure that things can be back to normal, mainly because of the fact that I actually came in pretty early, like several minutes beforehand to make sure it's like, okay, is this doing fine? Is this fine? Is everything okay? All right, good. So now that we got that settled, now the main thing that I want to go and mention that for this episode, it's going to be very emotional. In fact, strong emotions are going to be the theme of this entire thing, especially with some of the subject matter that we will be discussing. Rather it be of sadness, of frustration, of amazement, we are really gonna go and touch deep into our emotions. And the reason why I say that is because one of the stories that we will be getting into, well, I feel kind of inspired based on a recent trend that had occurred on social media. So I figured, why don't we go and try to center that around that, you know, like really go and truly express ourselves. Let us be emotional on our episodes and just fully express how we feel. Actually, you know, come to think of it, instead of asking you all, I want to try something a little bit special. I want to try a brand new little trick that I should have learned a long time ago. But, let's see, I just want to go and quickly do this. So, I just want to say, hold on a second, are you ready for today's episode? And then I just do a few more writings and then boom. So, maybe you have noticed, if you are watching this live on Twitch, I learned the new ability of making a poll. So, what I ask first and foremost is, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? So this is going to be a little thing that I'm going to go and try out a little bit more to add on to the interactivity of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So let's see. Are people ready for this? And apparently, according to the poll right over here, and yeah, if you're watching this, by the way, don't be surprised if suddenly you're going to see like, you're going to see this going on like mirror after mirror, just an endless hall of the posts and me just entering in. But as you can see here, yes, the grand majority is ready. That is wonderful to see. And ooh, we got another extra subscription that I see over here. Thank you, Olmid, for the sub right over there. And great. So now that we see people are ready, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we have today, I see, oh wow, even another streak going on. Oh wow, the notifications are just popping up like crazy. Oh boy. But anyways, as we begin with our first story that we have here, Well, I figured I might as well go and get the sad news out of the way. Might as well go and get the more tragic thing done first and foremost before we get into like some of the crazier and more fun things over here. Now, normally when it comes to passings or when a significant person is unfortunately no longer with us, I would normally just go and start that on the intro, just say a few words, and then we would just get onto the episode. But in this case over here, not only did we lose one, we lost a bunch, but there are two in particular who unfortunately passed away on the same day. And from there, these are two people that honestly, I do have a lot to say about them, and I figured might as well go and actually give them their respective stories. So let's go and start things off by talking about the passing of Mark Gustafson. Yes, it was sadly reported that animator and director Mark Gustafson has sadly passed away on February 1st of 2024 at the age of 64, where apparently he died of a heart attack. And from there, it was just like everything seemed to be okay with his life. And then suddenly the heart attack came and he's gone. He's just done. And to give you a quick summary of who Mark Gustafson is, this is someone who is considered to be a maestro of stop motion animation, that throughout his career, stop motion was his go-to medium. And the more that he was crafting on it, the better he became at it. In the beginning of his career, he started out working at Will Vinton, where he would go and work on several projects as an animator, whether it be on the Claymation holiday specials, on the California Raisins, or even for some episodes of the PJs. He would go and start off by learning the ropes and like becoming better at stop motion animation through those well-known projects. And then over time, he would keep sharpening his skills until he found a big boost and a significant point in his career where he officially became the animation director of the 2009 Wes Anderson movie Fantastic Mr. Fox, a very well praised and I would even say one of the most beloved stop motion animated features to this day. And a big part of it is attributed to the stop motion animation. And then later on, once again, he would keep honing his craft. He would become better and better at stop motion to the point where he would reach his, well, I guess we could pretty much say now, his magnum opus, where he teamed up with Guillermo del Toro in order to make the 2022 stop motion adaptation of Pinocchio, or as we know it today as Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. But you can't truly say that it is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, considering that Mark Gustafson is not only the other director of the feature, but that his contribution played a significant role in turning that film into the masterpiece that we know today. And speaking of which, Guillermo del Toro himself actually does have some choice of words that he would like to say, in which he first expressed it on Twitter, to which he said here, "I admire Mark Gustafson even before I met him. A pillar of stop motion animation, a true artist. A compassionate, sensitive, and mordantly witty man. A legend, and a friend that inspired and gave hope to all around him. He passed away yesterday. Today, we honor and miss him." There was even more of a description, more words that Del Toro did put on, just to go and read from my source here on Variety, as it states here, "He leaves behind a titanic legacy of animation that goes back to the very origins of claymation and that shaped the career and craft of countless animators. He leaves friends and colleagues and a historic filmography. Prayers and thoughts go to his beloved wife, Jennifer. They say never meet your heroes. I disagree. You cannot be disappointed by someone being human. We all are. Burning the midnight oil during post-production, or doing daily animation turnovers via Zoom during COVID, or being trapped in an elevator in a cinema in London. I am glad to have met Mark, the human, as I was honored to have met the artist. As I said, I admired him before I met him. I loved having had the chance to share time and space with him during the highs and lows. always and forever. And just to go and quickly put in my piece, it's honestly very sad to see someone like Mark Gustafson no longer being with us, especially with the fact that stop motion animation has become nowadays a rare breed. It's becoming very uncommon that people would go and use that as their go-to medium for things such as an animated series or even for a full-on animated feature, especially for the mainstream when everything, or at least the grand majority of it, is just computer animation. And with Mark Gustafson, he was keeping that craft alive, and he was able to go and really evolve it into something stronger and into something better. And this really is attributed to not just many of his works throughout his career, including his early works done in the Will Vinton projects, but also with the two big movies that he has worked on, with the animation of Fantastic Mr. Fox, not only bringing the characters from Roald Dahl to life, but also to do so in a way that honors the filmmaking style of Wes Anderson. To go and use his filmmaking sense and to go and present that in a way that only animation could go and deliver. And there is kind of like this natural sense, especially with the design of the characters and just with the environment, and seeing it all come to life in a way that feels natural. And the funny thing is with Fantastic Mr. Fox, it looks like the kind of film that would be a little too uncanny and that the stop motion would be a little too freaky, especially when a lot of the characters kind of look realistic. But there's a way that with the animation, they made it very charming. And a big part of it is with Mark Gustafson's keen eye. And then, of course, with Guillermo del Toro. I've already expressed a lot of my thoughts on that feature. I love that movie, and I would even so far consider it one of the best animated features of the decade. And a big part of it is with the animation, how it's all brought to life and taking this strange abstract style that kind of wants to be realistic, but is like very warped, but then all brought to life in this one beautiful picture to give us a beautiful anti-fascist update on Pinocchio that honestly to this day does feel very relevant, and even showing Pinocchio in a very positive light, really, and even like updating the moral about never telling a lie and stuff like that, where not only does it show the cons, but even some of the pros. But with the animation that they would go, again, Mark Gustafson would go and take that filmmaking style that Guillermo del Toro would do, and he would really evolve that into something that looks creepy looking, but is very whimsical. So I think this is a massive loss for animation, and it is sad that we would see Mark Gustafson go. But not only did he pass away, like I mentioned before, there is another person who is no longer with us, and on the same day, no doubt, is Carl Weathers. Yes, the football star turned actor has sadly passed away at the age of 76. Now, as I am recording this, I just want to go and mention that there is no confirmation as to what specifically did Mark Gustafson passed away from. There's we don't know how exactly he died, but apparently he passed on in the best way possible. Apparently his family or the people who represent him say that he passed away peacefully and in his sleep, which honestly, there's no better way that you can go out in this world than by doing that. And to go and do the best I can to quickly summarize the life and career of Carl Weathers, because there really is a whole lot. Yes, like I said, he is honestly one of, if not the best example of an athlete turned into an actor, where not many people may have known that he started out in football, where he signed on with the NFL, and then later on he would go and sign on with the Canadian version with the CFL. But then later, when he appeared on screen, that's when everything changed. He started out by going a little bit into going a little bit like doing small TV appearances. But then everything changed when he played the iconic role that would define his career and would define who he is as an actor, Apollo Creed from Rocky, to which he managed to play 4 times across the Rocky films, Rocky 1, 2, 3, and 4. And from there, that's when we are introduced to who he is as an actor, and also the signature charisma that he would go and carry across his entire career. And from there, I would say that with Carl Weathers, even though he may not necessarily be the most well-known name in Hollywood, he is the kind of person in which every decade and every generation, there is always one memorable role that Carl Weathers would go and play, that he would always be there and portray this like well-known character that people have fond memories of. And in the 1970s, it was with Apollo Creed and Rocky. And then you would have the 1980s, where he would go and play in Action Jackson, where he would be the main role. And he would also play as Dylan in Predator. And even though it's not necessarily a big role, or at least not as big as Arnold Schwarzenegger, later on, it became a very iconic movie. Not just an iconic movie, but Dylan, like his role as Dylan would be very iconic. So iconic, in fact, that it actually turned into a famous meme. Like, you probably have seen this meme right over here, where we see the giant muscles of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers just shaking hands. Like, that's where it came from. Like, you've seen the variations of it, but it all actually came from Predator. And yes, even in meme culture, Carl Weathers is a big contributor to that. And we've seen like all the different ways that, and they even mentioned it was also from a very iconic line as well, where Arnold Schwarzenegger saw Carl Weathers and he's like, "Dylan, you son of a bitch." And then this thing happened. So yeah, I feel like that is something that is also worth mentioning. But going back to Carl Weathers, in the 1990s, he would then go into a little bit of a shift with his career, where he performs less in action movies and start to enter into the realm of comedy. And a major one that gave him a boost was with Happy Gilmore, where he played Happy's mentor in golf, where he would try to go and calm Adam Sandler down and play around with the wooden hand that he has after losing it to a crocodile and stuff. And that's where we see a lot more versatility with Carl Weathers, where he would go and do some other things, and that charisma would still be present, but used in a different way that can also be charming. And then after that, in the 2000s, he would make smaller appearances, but the most significant one was apparently Arrested Development. Now, I cannot necessarily comment about Arrested Development. I've honestly never seen the show, but I've heard a lot of amazing things about it. But he was at one point a prominent character where in a few episodes, he actually played a satirical version of himself, showing that he can have a sense of humor where he can actually laugh at himself at times. And from again, I don't know, I haven't seen any of the clips that featured him, but from what I've heard, like, he was tremendous in the series, and that, you know, showing that comedic side of of himself really did help things out with his charm and with his personality. And then moving forward to the 2010s, again, there wasn't any major roles, but I would say the one that really did stand out was actually when he entered into the realm of animation, and he would actually be the voice of Combat Carl in Toy Story of Terror and Toy Story 4. And I just want to go and quickly state right over here that I know that the post-Toy Story 3 era of the franchise is very mixed. But honestly, I feel like Combat Carl, played by Carl Weathers, is the most underrated Toy Story character out there. Oh my god, the scenes that featured him is hilarious. It's basically like he would go back to some of his older roles where he would play Dylan in Predator, or he would be in Action Jackson, but he would be this over-the-top, exaggerated version, like almost like a satire of those action roles that he did play. And on top of that, just the added extra layer of always referring to himself in the third person is just great. Like, I even see some examples over here in the chat wall. Like, someone even mentioned, like, "Comeback Carl never gives up. Comeback Carl finds a way." Honestly, it's just one of the great things. And again, I know, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I legit do find Comeback Carl is so underrated as a Toy Story character. And like, whenever he shows up in Toy Story 4, like it just brightens the scene about as much as Keanu Reeves playing as Captain Canuck. Or I think that's his name. I don't know. Admittedly, it's been a little while since I've seen it, but I do remember the moments with Comeback Carl, and they are just great. Oh, Duke Kaboom! Sorry about that. I don't know what the fridge I was thinking. Yeah. Thank you for the correction, folks. Yeah, I do mean Duke Kaboom. All right, but yeah, and then finally you got this decade, the 2020s, and I know technically he started a little bit earlier. But Carl Weathers would go and perform what is debatably his final iconic role, where he would be in The Mandalorian, specifically playing the character of Greef Karga, who was the head of the bounty hunting group. And from there, kind of like it's a little bit of a combination of Apollo Creed in the later films, like in Rocky 3 and 4, and in Happy Gilmore, where he was being the soulful mentor. And like, honestly, I do find that he is definitely one of the better parts of the Disney Plus Star Wars era. And like, whenever you would see his character, he would bring in his charisma and show that cool swagger where he is friendly to those who are kind to him, but to his enemies, he can be a serious threat. And it adds to this badassery to the character that he has, where you could tell, oh yeah, like you could understand why he would be considered like one of the heads of the bounty hunting group, or at least he was until he became like the sheriff of this town, trying to, re-civilize this little corner that he would go and claim. So from there, though, this is also something that I personally find to be very sad that he would go. And I know there are plenty of other examples of roles that he would go and do, but it's like what I said at the beginning. Carl Weathers is one of those people that in every generation, he is always there to play a memorable role. And regardless if it's either Apollo Creed or Dylan or himself, or even Comeback Carl or Greef Karga, or Greef Karga, he always presents that same kind of charisma that you could tell that it is Carl Weathers, but he adds on to it to make his character more believable. So again, it's just very tragic to see these two legends just passing away, both Mark Gustafson and Carl Weathers. And I just want to go and say, may they both rest in peace, and may their legacy live on. All right, so with that said, I would like to now go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you all, do you have any quick little words to say about the passing of both? I won't have a lot of time to go into all of them, but now is the time if you want to go and express any memories that you have in relation to the works of Gustafson or Weathers. Now's the time to say so. Let's see. These are two passings that are absolutely tragic. With Mark Gustafson, he really did play a big role in creating Del Toro's Pinocchio. As for Carl Weathers, I'll always remember him for Rocky and The Mandalorian. And also one thing I do hope is that they will pay tribute to Carl Weathers in the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Oh, I'm sure. Say what you will about the Disney Star Wars era, but when they pay tribute to someone, they know how to do that very well and do so very respectfully. Case in point, take a look at Carrie Fisher. Like that is one good example right there. Let's see, what else do we have here? This is heartbreaking. When I first heard the news about Mark Gustafson's passing last week, he is basically one of the best players in the stop motion medium that we will never have again. Been wanting to hear Guillermo del Toro's thoughts about it, but I almost forgot that I don't have Twitter anymore. Oh, lucky you. Hearing what he said really shows how much of a phenomenal human being Guillermo del Toro is. As a witness, I do know that. I did want to meet him, but it's not meant to be. Rest in peace to both Mark and, of course, to Apollo Creed. Let's see now. There are a few people in animation who I can call a pioneer in the art form, but with Mark Gustafson, from his work with Will Vinton to being the animation director of Fantastic Mr. Fox to co-directing Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, there is no better way to describe him as a pioneer in stop motion. As for Carl Weathers, I mainly know him from Rocky and Happy Gilmore, but by God, he was fantastic in both films. Rest in peace, Mark and Carl. All right. It's so sad that both legendary figures have passed away on the same day. Mark Gustafson, who worked on Fantastic Mr. Fox and Pinocchio, is not only gone, but even Carl Weathers, known for Apollo Creed and Rocky and other films and series from Predator, Happy Gilmore, The Mandalorian, Toy Story 4, and even in regular show as the god of basketball. As a big fan of the series, is also gone too. I admire both of them, including Weathers, so I hope they both rest in peace. All right, very nice. It's really sad and heartbreaking to see both beloved figures no longer with us. For Mark Gustafson, he was a very talented player in stop motion, working with Will Vinton and Del Toro. I highly admire the commercials and Pinocchio. And with the latter, it's a swan song for him. Thanks to Mark for your amazing contribution to stop motion. As for Carl, I will forever know him as Combat Carl. And I will agree with you, he is very underrated. All right, any other comments that we would have? My mom got to meet Carl Weathers and said that he even lit up when meeting her because she was the only person who brought a Grogu plush to their photo op. May he rest in peace. Ah, that's very nice. Let's see. I think I'll just read one more comment before we jump to the next story. Let's see. Where else would there be? Any other comments? Just want to double check. Does anybody... Okay. We do have one more here. I'll say this is a sad beginning of this year. Mark was a great animator in all sorts of different works like Pinocchio. And Carl Weathers, I never saw Rocky, but of course Star Wars was the best, and his character in Star vs. the Forces of Evil, being the voice of Omnitrexus Prime, was awesome. Overall, I loved what they have done. May they forever rest in peace. So yeah, very tragic to see them gone, but of course, never forgotten. And with that said, we will now go on to our first break, and when we do return, we will be expressing a lot more of our emotions, but this time it will be in the form of a crazy trend that happened that caused many people to break down. So stay tuned for that one, and be ready to go and open up about yourself as well. All right, welcome back. Now, on our next story, we're going to go and talk about a massive trend that occurred on social media, in which one little post, and something that seemed very innocent, something that seems like, okay, it's just a regular little thing, especially coming from this account in particular. For some reason with that one, that seems to be the thing that caused people to just break down, in which they decided, you know what, they had enough of their day, they had enough with the current status of their lives, and they just open up a lot more than what anyone would go expect. And what is this post that I am talking about? Well, let's go and discuss about the one who caused that massive trend to occur, and that is from Elmo. Yes, this actually all started on social media, specifically on Twitter, in which Elmo just made a cute little post, something that's innocent and something that doesn't seem bad at all, in which Elmo stated, reading from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, Elmo is just checking in. How is everybody doing? And I don't know what it is with those little 9 words, but apparently that broke a lot of people. That's when a lot of people decided to say, you know what? I can't tell Elmo that I'm doing fine. I am not fine. I'm not doing great. And my God, have you seen, there have been people who just broke down like crazy. And it really got trending. It was the big Twitter post of the week. And probably the first, honestly, come to think of it, it's the first ever Twitter post that really got trending in quite a long time. And from there, like, it got tons of engagement, and thousands of people went and replied, and they were pretty much pouring out their heart about how they were feeling and the sorrows that they had. And just to go and quickly read you here from my source on The Hollywood Reporter, it states here, from the ongoing war to corporate layoffs and a bleak-seeming election cycle, no trauma was too shallow nor too deep to share with young Elmo. Honestly, Elmo, I need a hug, wrote one user. Oh, Elmo, sweetheart, we are not doing well, wrote another. Elmo girl, I'm having a quarter-life crisis right now, and I can't get my crap together to finish this last semester. I'm mentally burned out, and I have a lifetime of working to go, said another user. And from there, of course, when something is massively trending, celebrities would go and they would include their piece as well, where they would go and try to contribute to this. Even President Joe Biden also went in and put in his little piece talking about how he's been feeling and how, well, the people of America has been feeling, and also giving Elmo thanks for checking in. But on top of that, it even says here that celebrities took the moment to share their feelings and join the conversation too, with T-Pain tweeting, I'm just looking for somebody to talk to and show me some love if you know what I mean. And also Rachel Zegler writing, resisting the urge to tell Elmo that I am kinda sad. And as you could probably imagine, for the people of Sesame Street, this is massively overwhelming. Like, they did not expect that people would just go all out and just express their despair onto Elmo because he was just asking, how is everyone doing? Even both Sesame Workshop and Elmo himself actually went and made a response about the situation. Oh, fudge. Okay, that went a little too fast. I don't want to highlight New Zealand. I just want to go and highlight this moment here. It says here that this is a tweet coming from Sesame Street's official Twitter account, to which it says, thank you, Elmo, for checking in with a reminder for us to pause and take a mindful moment to focus on how we're feeling. For hashtag emotional well-being resources and more, visit Sesame Workshop with a link to sesame.org/mental health. Even Elmo went and tweeted, wow, Elmo is glad he asked. Elmo learned that it is important to ask a friend how they are doing. Elmo will check in again soon, friends. Elmo loves you. Hashtag emotional well-being. So yeah, kind of a bit unexpected that there's so much trauma that people are expressing to Elmo out of all people. And it is kind of strange. Like, why is it that Elmo, out of everyone on Twitter, would go and get this kind of response? Like, why is it that people would go and immediately open up to Elmo? And honestly, you have to know a bit about Sesame Street, and like, you got to know about people's relationship with Sesame Street, because, well, I know it might sound exaggerated, but in a way it's actually pretty true that the characters of Sesame Street, like Elmo, are kind of like the personification or the embodiment of kindness. Of, these are the characters that really are all about empathy, about kindness, and looking out for one another. Like, that's really what Sesame Street is all about, along with the characters that are featured in there. And I would even say, to a certain extent, the Muppets in general are also like that as well. And with characters like Elmo or Kermit or Bert and Ernie or Big Bird or Cookie Monster or the Count, these are the kinds of characters that you can actually trust. That these are the types of characters in which they would be willing to go and actually lend an ear if you want to go and talk about your feelings, or it, like what we have just seen, like with Elmo asking, how are you feeling? if you would go and respond to them, it will feel like they would go and answer. And I mean, we're talking about Sesame Street, for God's sakes. This is the kind of program that not only has touched millions, but has touched billions of people all around the world. And they have more than merited the trust of the public that if they want to go and express their feelings, they would want someone like Elmo to go and listen to, which is why you would see all those crazy responses of people just saying that they're not feeling well, that they're having a crisis, that that they're just melting down in that one tweet to go and express that to Elmo, which is why we would see this going on. And yeah, like, if you would think about it, if there are any characters, fictional or not, that you would want to go and truly express your feelings, and that they would want to listen and that they want to care about your own well-being, of course, it would be Elmo. And that's why people trust Elmo, that if they would go and cry out their feelings, Elmo would be the one to go and listen. Although, despite the fact that Elmo would have to go and listen to literally thousands of voices at the same time hearing about their absolute despair. And not to mention, like, also a very significant factor that not many people have mentioned, but it's the fact, like, one thing that really played into how big the situation became, or how the response to that little question became so overwhelming, is the fact that it's from social media. And let's face it, folks, we're pretty much at the point where we have to go and say that social media, it is not healthy for us, or at least in terms of mentally, it is not a healthy place to be. And I understand, like, it is very hard to go and break that habit of getting out of social media and stuff like that. But it is true that not necessarily all of it, but a massive chunk of our stress in our daily lives, or whatever anxiety we would develop or depression that we would develop, it would be from social media, from all the doom scrolling that we would hear, from all the bad things that happen all around the world, from the corruption, from the fascism, from people losing lives for unjustified reasons. Like, yeah, they could be pretty bad stuff that gradually would go and affect your psyche. And especially with how people's behavior that they can be on social media, which, let's be honest, can be 10 times worse than how they could be in real life, where, especially on Twitter, where flame wars and angry arguments happen on such a regular basis. Of course, Twitter is kind of like the go-to place if you want to feel miserable. So already, like, the fact that Elmo would go and ask it on Twitter, and people already feel miserable as is on Twitter, of course they're going to go and immediately reply that they're just feeling bad, like they're not feeling okay, they just feel miserable, life is terrible, and all that kind of stuff. So that's at least my little theory into the science of what happened in there and why it went so viral as it is, where we saw that entire situation where it went crazy. But I think it is also worth mentioning, by the way, I mean, if we are going to talk about this subject in particular, that whole Elmo trend, then there is something else that we do have to go and discuss, and that is regarding one particular moment where, of course, like, because it got so big and so popular, Elmo and his dad were invited to go and talk about the situation on the Today Show. And let's just say that not everybody was happy with Elmo, or at least there was one person who was pretty fed up with the situation. Let me just show you.
All right, let's go. Oh my gosh, you love Elmo, don't you?
Elmo, you okay? Ask permission.
Oh my god, look at Elmo's face. This face right here just said it all. Like, Elmo's just looking at it, it's like, what the fritz just happened? Like, we know it's not cool, but, like, why? What the fritz just happened? So, just to give you context, for those of you who are just listening, Larry David just came right out of nowhere, and he was, like, manhandling Elmo's face, while he was, like, swiping at Elmo's dad as well, and everybody was just standing there just completely shocked. Like, everybody was just like, what just happened? And like their experience, like from there, they were just experiencing a little trauma. But one thing I will say, my favorite moment is actually when the audio just goes nuts. Like when he was holding Elmo's face and you just hear the audio just like completely rumbling, you know, like just this scene, like just this part.
Wait.
Like you just hear the audio like oh my god, that I have to admit is just absolutely hilarious. And by the way, if you want to know why Larry David was there in the first place, because it is true, just from watching this clip, it feels like it just came, like he came right out of nowhere, you know? It's like he just came in from behind with a freaking steel wheelchair and just like knocked Elmo out. But the reason why is actually because he was there to go and promote the final season of his series, Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I guess he was just on the side waiting for his turn to be interviewed and stuff. And he decided with the whole talk about Elmo and with what happened on Twitter, he decided he had enough and he just had to, I don't know, he just had to pull that move on Elmo for some reason. But again, I just want to go back to that. What was that face that Elmo did? Like, hold on a sec. Yeah, like this little moment here. This is a face. I don't know about you, but just this face right here, this looks like the face of revenge. Like he just had none of it, and I feel like Elmo, he's gonna go back to Sesame Street. He's gonna pick up that famous rock and be like, look, Rocco, I don't like you, you don't like me, but we need to work together on something. We got a common enemy that we have to that we share, that we need to take down. And then late at night, when Larry David would be sleeping, Elmo would just be walking in, turn up the music of his show, and just be with Rocco, be like, "You like that, David? You like that on your face? Huh? You like that?" Oh boy, but yeah, honestly, it was like something that came right out of the blue, but it's like both shocking and hilarious at the same time. But anyways, to go back into the main story over here, like the whole social media event, like with Elmo asking how everyone is doing, honestly, I feel like the more I do think about this story, the more that in a way, it really is beautiful. This is a wonderful moment, and honestly, this almost never happens on social media, let alone on frickin' Twitter, but this is honestly a beautiful moment that really puts a spotlight on mental health and on people's emotional well-being. And considering that, yeah, we do live in a pretty emotionally dark time where it is hard to feel happy with all the devastation that is going on all around the world. Yeah, like it can be tough to go and perk up a smile and stuff like that. But this really does highlight that, especially for those who did break down to Elmo and just write their despairs to him, that this is honestly a moment where we need to step back and really reflect upon why it is important to go and start prioritizing our own mental health and to go and consider about our own well-being and consider our own emotions. And that if you are in an emotional spot where you feel like it is very dark, where you feel like it is very bleak, then honestly, that's the time where you have to go and start to realize maybe you need help. Because it's one thing to just go and tell Elmo that you're not feeling fine, but to go and take the actual steps to go and actually improve your mental health, that's going to be a big game changer in your life where you can actually start to feel more happy. Like one great example is that if you, like, maybe that's the time that you can go and talk to a therapist, that maybe it's the time that you can actually see a professional to go and discuss about your mental health, and you can work together in order to find a way to put you in a better spot in terms of your emotions and in terms of your well-being. So that's one major thing that you can do. But I also understand that the subject of therapy can also be massively expensive. You know, sometimes like you don't necessarily have the finances, but that's okay because there are some small steps that you can do as well in order to go and actually improve your mental health. And I've already mentioned a little bit about this, but one thing that would be important is to take some time away from social media. And that is especially the case on Twitter. I mean, like, if you're still on Twitter to this day, why the fridge are you still there? Especially, like, if you have any problems related to anxiety, to depression, to stress, or all that kind of stuff, if you use Twitter on a daily basis, well, then you know what your answer is right there. And I mean, I'm not going to go and immediately say that you should quit right now. You should follow my footsteps and just not be on Twitter in general. But one thing you can do is spend a lot less time. Give yourself a big social media break. Like, have one day where you don't go and either Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or what have you, and just focus on yourself. Just spend time doing something that you actually do enjoy. Watch a movie that you like or play a game that you enjoy and stuff like that. Spend the time, like, instead of spending time on social media, especially on Twitter, where, like, nowadays it's just like the whole place it has gone so bad to the point where now people are desperately looking for things to get angry about. And instead of just putting out hate posting or ranting about things that you don't like, why don't you spend the time away from social media like Twitter and actually do some things you enjoy? Because let's be honest, social media like Twitter are pretty much like cigarettes. I mean, like, yeah, they make you feel whole in the moment, but at the same time, they're an absolute cancer where they give you more problems than actually make you feel good. So that's one thing you should start considering to try to do. Or, at the very least, there is one thing, though, that if not therapy, if not the social media breaks, have someone to talk to. This is just anyone that you could go and try to talk to who would be like Elmo in this case, that you would go and open up your feelings to. Now, it could be anyone. It could be like a friend. It could be a family member like your parents or your siblings or your cousins, your aunt, your uncle, or anything like that. Just, or maybe a neighbor or anyone in general. And it could be either like in real life or maybe even online can work too. But try to find someone that can be like Elmo, in which you can open up your feelings to. That you could talk about how you're feeling, you could talk about how you are in terms of your mental state, and from there, that person will go and listen. Like, even if they don't necessarily respond, even if, like, they'll just say some simple words like, you'll be okay, or I'm sorry that things are not going well for you and stuff like that. Even if it's just small replies, just the factor of letting out your feelings. Have someone that you could go and express your thoughts, just let out what's in your head. That can actually go and do you wonders. So overall, this is just a little bit of a highlight of mental health and why it is important. And yeah, like, if you do feel like you're in a position where you're ready to go and just rant about how your life is not going well to someone like Elmo, then honestly, that's when you have to put the brakes in your life and you got to say, okay, time to switch up priorities and put your mental health first. Because trust me, that, like, when you grow older, you'll realize that, you know, over time, stress and anxiety and depression can easily get the best of you. And the more you go and put your mental health first, the easier it is that you can go and live your life. All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall. And now I want to ask you all, how do you feel? How are you all feeling, folks? Especially in regards to the whole situation with Elmo. Let me know what you all think. All right, let's see now. Poor Elmo. He just wanted to check in on everyone and spread some kindness, but the world was just against him at the moment. Poor Muppets can't catch a break. Hashtag Muppet Lives Matter. Also, thank you for your advice. I don't really go on Twitter except following artists I like. Thank you for that. Well, yeah, and also, another thing that I want to go and give in terms of advice, like, don't just find someone that they can go and listen to about your feelings, but also it is important to be that person, to be like Elmo, where you can show some kindness and show that you care. Be that person to either your friend or your sibling or to your family member or what have you, that you could go and actually listen to someone, that you can go and lend your ear, and that you can express some of your wisdom to go and help them out. Because honestly, like, that could also be something good for your own mental health, is to spread some kindness. That's also a great thing that could do good for you as much as it can to do good for others. Like, trust me, your life will have some legitimate meaning if you can actually help out a person, regardless of who they may be, for their lives to be better or for their lives to be happier, even if it is for that one little moment. So that's another thing that I would also like to go and express. But anyways, who knew Elmo was the first to kick off the trend of 2024, right? I didn't know about this news until I saw an interview with Elmo on NBC's Today's News featuring a certain incident with Larry David trying to make cringe things as he did in Curb Your Enthusiasm. But yeah, I do think mental wellness is important, like what Elmo is doing, so I'm glad that this is the first highlight moment of 2024. However, I do feel bad for Elmo getting strangled by Larry David of all celebrities to think of. Oh boy, it does make me wonder, like, considering that like he was there to go and promote the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, should we expect an Elmo cameo? Should we expect like Elmo to go and like get his revenge, or like, get back at Larry David? Who the fridge knows? But anyways, in the 2 months we've had in 2024, I never would have guessed that the biggest trend so far would be trauma dumping on Elmo. I mean, my man had good intentions. He just wanted to check in on everyone, and everybody just let it all out. I admit I joined in by replying, "To be honest, Elmo, I am at my effing limit right now," but at least everyone had a chance to vent. Except Larry David. That attack was personal. Yeah, I think, Larry let out his emotions the wrong way. That's not how you should do it. You need to go and express with your feelings, not with your hands on Elmo's face. Anyways, honestly, I just heard of that whole Elmo versus internet stuff a few days ago. The few I learned about it, the more I felt that I had to watch Java from the Muppets 100 times over to wash away that story. On a serious note, it's true that the current internet isn't all rainbows and ponies, but it's also not full of loathing and despair and despising. If you know which websites that are safe for your usage, then you should be okay. All right, that is nice. I've always had a soft spot for Elmo, no matter what he does to help his friends and family on Sesame Street. Elmo, if you are listening to this, we all love you. Also, that Larry David thing, not gonna lie, I do feel bad for Elmo, but my god, this was so funny. Also, how the hell did Larry David show up out of nowhere? What kind of powers did he have to teleport? This is something I'll see. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Poor Elmo. I just want to go and state right this. I would just flip out if Elmo is a listener to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. That would honestly be insane. I don't know if that would actually be the case, but like, holy crap. Like, imagine just the feeling, just to say like, oh my god, Elmo is a fan of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. That would just be so wild. But anyways, what other comments would there be? This is definitely something I didn't expect. However, I can completely understand why people would go and respond to Elmo this way, with how Sesame Street is one of the most iconic shows of all time, and the characters are so admirable. I can understand why people would respond to Elmo, and let's be honest, the internet nowadays is generally full of negativity. Yeah. I think I might go and read one more comment before we go and move on to the next break. Let's see. Honestly, people getting mad at Elmo sounds like one of those insane stories by fake news conspiracies, but it's real. I feel bad for the little red guy. He just asked how your day was going and he got choked out by Larry David. Man, hope he's doing better. Elmo, not Larry, by the way. Well, I just want to say that there are a few of those incels who are mad at Elmo for expressing kindness, and I mean, let's be honest, those kinds of people, like Jordan Peterson, for example, they're the ones who desperately need the most therapy. Like, if you're not a fan of kindness and empathy, you got some serious mental issues that you need to sort out. But honestly, like, yeah, it does, you know, it is sad to see, like, Elmo will receive so much of that trauma dumping, but the grand majority of people are not against Elmo in this case, just want to remind you. All right, so we're going to go on to our next break right now, and when we do return, we are going to go and grab a monkey's paw, in which someone would go and make a wish on it, and oh boy, did it turn out to be so cursed. Way cursed in the form of a sequel and a series. And we are back. Now, for our next story that we have here, I just want to go and give you all a quick reminder of one of the previous stories that I've talked about in the last episode, where we took a look at the trailer for the upcoming Despicable Me 4, especially with the fact that Will Ferrell will be among the cast as a new villain called Maxime Lamal. And that was one thing that really got trending, and it got a lot of people talking about. Oh, and by the way, thank you for that subscription right there. Son of Nun 92. Thank you very much. But as I was saying, yes. Now, it really got trending, and it got a lot of people's attention because in one movie, we are going to see Gru and Megamind face off each other. Despite the fact that, well, technically Will Ferrell is not really Megamind per se. But that doesn't mean that this year we are not going to see Megamind, because for quite a while, we have been promised by DreamWorks Animation that we would legitimately see the return of the beloved supervillain, or supervillain turned superhero. And we finally did get the result of that, and not only would we be getting a Megamind series, but also a full-on sequel to Megamind. But is it really the sequel that we asked for? Well, with that said, let's go and take a look at the upcoming, at the trailer for the upcoming Peacock exclusive sequel, Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate.
Hello, loyal viewers. For those who are just joining us, that's me.
Yes, folks, that was Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate, in which it also promotes the series Megamind Rules, both of which are going to be coming out exclusively on Peacock on March 1st. And there is one thing I'd like to go and point out. As I am recording this, if you take a look at the like and dislike ratio, oh dear, yeah, it is not well liked. So far, we see that it has gathered 5,600 likes, in contrast to 57,000 dislikes. So yeah, it did not make a good first impression. And just by looking at this, I just gotta go and ask, what the fridge happened? Where the fridge do I begin with this whole thing? Because, oh dear lord, this, I think it's safe to say this is a downgrade from the 2010 movie. And I mean, yeah, like, I'll just say now that, yes, there are some things to be expected that maybe the quality will not reach the same kind of standard as the 2010 feature. Like, yeah, we would expect that the animation is not as spectacular as in the movie, or that not all the voices are going to be returning, or that none of the voices would be coming back. I mean, it's pretty obvious that neither Will Ferrell, nor Tina Fey, nor David Cross are coming back to go to reprise their roles in this. But here, however, oh dear, like, wow, I just gotta say, I am shocked that we are seeing a DreamWorks project getting this amount of hate, because slowly but surely we are seeing a bit of a comeback, or at least in terms of fan reception with DreamWorks Animation. That is especially the case in the last 2 years, where we see with The Bad Guys and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and shockingly enough, apparently Trolls made some kind of fanfare rebound for reasons I cannot explain. I've already expressed that I am not a fan of the movies, and I did not like that third film whatsoever. I still stand by that it is the worst animated movie of 2023. But still, though, people are starting to show some love for DreamWorks Animation again. But then this Megamind project came in, and oh boy, did it fell down. It just like crashed and burned. So where did it go wrong here? So let's just take the steps to see, like, where exactly did things go bad. Like, number one, I might as well go with the animation first and foremost, because that's probably the one thing that really got a lot of hate. And like, one thing that I will say is a massive mistake is when the trailer showed clips of the original movie. Like, you would have like this little part right over here.
It's me, Megamind, master of all villainy, until I realized my destiny was to be a superhero.
Okay, like, we see those clips, and I mean, this is awesome animation. This looks great. You know, we see Megamind being himself, the showing all that swagger, like finally having his day where he would go and save Roxanne Ritchie, or like be the bad guy taking over Metro City and stuff like that. Like, this is actually really good. But then suddenly you get this. What the fridge is this? And I'm not gonna lie, one thing that I would say is that this right over here feels lifeless. The thing is with this animation is that there's something about it that feels like the characters don't necessarily have life in their eyes. They just look completely soulless. That and especially with the way that the characters would go and move, even if they would go and create these Despicable Me style creative villains, that honestly, there's just something about them that it doesn't feel like that they work out. It doesn't feel like there's much of a personality that they're even expressing in the first place. And apparently there seems to be one explanation for it. Now, I don't know if it's 100% true, but I have heard allegations that not only was this done outside of DreamWorks Animation, that DreamWorks and Universal had the animation outsourced for this, which, okay, that's perfectly fine. That's not necessarily a problem at all. But apparently, the production was extremely rushed. That one example that the allegations provided was that apparently the people who worked on this sequel movie or on the series, what they had to do was that NBC Universal was asking them to create 30 seconds of animation from scratch, fully completed in just 1 week. And if you know about the process of animation, that is next to impossible. Or it can be done, but you have to desperately take a lot of shortcuts. And honestly, that's exactly how this feels. An entirely rushed production where the animators had no time to go and just truly define their work, to go and like make sure that all this looks okay, or that all this can look good, or at least reach a certain level to where the original Megamind is. They just don't have the time, or not even the budget, I would even say. Like I know there, a lot of people would go and have the discussion about, oh, well, you gotta, when it comes to making stuff like this, that you have to go, you cannot go and put in like a stupidly huge budget, or else you'll run the risk of making a massive failure, which unfortunately we have seen Disney lately do, where they would put $200 million on their budget and it ended up not returning a profit because, well, they put way too much of the budget in the first place, making it next to impossible to go and actually find a profit. But the opposite is also true, that if you barely give them much of a budget in the first place, then the animators and the filmmakers, they're not going to have much to work with. And I think this is a case where it is the opposite, where not only do they not have the time, but they don't necessarily have the budget to go and actually make something that would actually that would actually polish their animation, and everything about it just looks rushed. And I would have to say the worst moment of the animation is actually just one quick moment, and you wouldn't necessarily think much, but it's like where was it? It's right over here. So yeah, like you see Roxanne reaching. Okay, it's this part. I want you to go and pay attention, because you see Roxanne and Megamind that they're using some silly contraption that shoots out tennis balls. But apparently, this machine right over here has some kind of strange magic. You know, they don't just shoot out tennis balls, they make tennis balls magically appear. And I'm just going to go frame by frame, so you will see. You know, like, it's just going to slowly, whoop, oh, you see that? Just like, look at Roxanne, like, whoop, oh, there's a tennis ball, whoop, oh, Megamind just had another tennis ball, you see, like, whoop, and then just one more, okay, let's see one more, whoop, it's just crazy, like, you don't see the action of the ball being shooed out, it's just the ball just magically showing up from the machine. You know, it's one of those little things that, for me, I look at it and I'm like, oh my god, like, you didn't even try. And just by looking at it, it feels like all the tennis balls just look the same. Like, maybe they have different lighting, but it's just like, I don't know, just from these images, like the way they're being handled, they look like JPEGs of tennis balls. So not only do they just pop up, but they're just flat images. Like, I know this is like a little nitpicky thing, but it really does highlight the poor quality of the animation that they are displaying here. But then there's also the factor, of course, with the voice actors. And honestly, I'm just gonna say right now, I have nothing against the voice actors, and honestly, I can hear that they are doing what they can to go and try to put on a show. And specifically, I do have my source here on Animation Magazine, in which they actually did reveal who the cast is. And this is, by the way, for both Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate and Megamind Rules, in which we got Keith Ferguson, who's going to be playing Megamind. You got Laura Post, who's going to be playing Roxanne Ritchie. You got Josh Brenner, who's now going to be Old Chum, which I'm guessing this is Old Chum right over here. I mean, they can no longer call him Minion for obvious reasons, so I guess that's going to be his new name. But on top of that, we also got some others and some familiar names as well. Like, you got Maya Atoki Toodle, who's now going to be one of the new main characters, Kiko Morita, right over here, like the little Asian girl who fanboys over Megamind, or fangirls over Megamind. Then you got Emily Toonin, you got Talon Warburton, you got Scott Adsit, whom you probably know as Baymax in Big Hero 6. You got Chris Sullivan, you got Tony Hale, I mean, you're probably familiar with Tony Hale, Jeannie Mason, and of course, Adam Lambert. So you got a pretty impressive cast over here, and I've already mentioned, yeah, like with something like this, it is to be expected that maybe not the original actors are going to be coming back, but still though, one thing I gotta say, and like probably the most prominent voice, is Keith Ferguson. And I understand why they would go and hire the guy to go and play as Megamind in here, considering that along with being a prominent voice actor, he is also a prominent impersonator. He is actually one of the regulars in Robot Chicken, where he would do a whole bunch of different impressions of different pop culture figures. So I get it that you would go and hire him in the hopes that he'll try to go and provide a good impression that sounds like Megamind. But I don't know about you, but it doesn't really work out. And that is especially with the fact that we are talking about a character who is voiced by Will Ferrell. And Will Ferrell has a very distinct voice. Maybe he's not the most versatile with his voice, but he is the kind that when you hear it, it's easily recognizable. And on top of that, he's also a great actor who is able to go and morph his characters to become very credible and play well with them, where you can actually believe the character, even though his voice is like, it's easily recognizable that it is, of course, Will Ferrell. And that is especially the case with Megamind. I think he did a fantastic job playing the role of Megamind, where, yeah, you can hear a lot of Will Ferrell's his signature voice and his signature comedic style onto Megamind. But at the same time, he did so well portraying the character that you kind of get lost into the character in particular, where you do have that illusion that it's no longer Will Ferrell, it's actually Megamind. But in this case over here, when you listen to Keith Ferguson playing as Megamind, better put on the audio, that should be important.
Adorable in a pushy sort of way. Here's a souvenir. It's either a paperweight or a flash grenade, so careful with that.
I don't know. It's like, I think the best way to put it is that it's a little too different. I'm not going to go and slam his performance, but it just really does not sound like Will Ferrell whatsoever. And the difference, it just feels massively jarring. Like, maybe you would have to watch a little bit of the movie, or you would have to watch a bit more of the show so that you can get used to the fact that it is different than in the movie. But even at that, he would have to provide a great performance, not a good performance, a legitimate great performance that would make it acceptable that he doesn't sound like Will Ferrell. And honestly, that, like, considering the kind of impression that this is giving out, not many people are going to be open to that. So honestly, I would say overall, yeah, this really is one massive yikes. I can understand the backlash that went behind it. And yeah, it really just feels like a desperately rushed production for the purpose of trying to capitalize on the current, well, maybe not success, but the current trend of Megamind, of the fact that the character has become so popular now that NBC Universal just really wants to try to make a profit in the hopes that people would just jump in based on the name alone. But with how with what they have done with the animation, with what they've done with the voice cast in terms of the casting itself, there's just nothing that's worth getting behind, especially for Megamind fans. I think they're the ones who are the most upset about this. So, yeah, honestly, I don't know if, I don't think I'm going to be planning to be watching any of these anytime soon. They feel like they're much more of a waste. And if I do want to go and return to Megamind, I'm just going to go back to the 2010 movie. So keep in mind, if you are morbidly curious about Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate and Megamind rules, then keep in mind that the series and the movie will be coming out exclusively on Peacock on March 1st. And you know what? I want to try my new little skill. I'm going to go and create a little poll. Like, you could go and write down your thoughts on the trailer, but I just want to go and quickly make a poll in which I want to go and ask you all, will you be watching the Megamind sequel and series? Oh, and by the way, just a bit of a side note, I just want to go and apologize. I know my keyboard here is very loud. It's technically meant for gaming, which is why, like, you hear a lot of the clickety-clacks here. So I'll just put in yes, and then I'll just put in no. So you could go and start that. We'll go and start that poll and see how many people would go and vote. But anyways, back to the chat wall. Time to go into your thoughts here. I may be a fan of the first movie and enjoy the quote of Megamind saying "Olo," but all I could say to this trailer is why? Just why? I thought that this was a joke. I thought it would be something that it would be hyped, but unfortunately, that excitement has been crashed down easily. I would rather stick with Despicable Me 4 than just Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate and Megamind rules. Also, Keith Ferguson is the voice of Marluxia in the Kingdom Hearts games and Reaper from Overwatch. Oh yeah, like I know that Keith Ferguson is a very admirable and very prolific voice actor. I got nothing but respect for the guy. It's just this right over here with Megamind is just not one of his highlights there. Let's see, what else do we have here? What other comments? I understand it's just a backdoor pilot to the series, so I shouldn't expect the quality of the first movie. But with that said, what the hell was that? The jokes are nowhere near sharp. The animation is a significant downgrade, and I don't know what that Megamind voice is, but I'll tell you one thing. It sure as hell ain't Will Ferrell. I'm likely going to skip and stick to watching Dune Part 2. At the very least, that one looks visually interesting. Yeah, you know, it's kind of weird because a lot of people would go and talk about like the 2010 movies, and they would all say that Megamind is a better film than Despicable Me. And even I'll have to admit, as much as I am a fan of the Despicable Me films, I do think that Megamind does have the slight upper edge. But this year, however, I think it's going to be the opposite. Say what you will about Despicable Me 4, but so far, it looks a lot more appealing than Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate. Let's say now. Funny story. Let's say a person, that ain't me, decide to rewatch the movie after seeing the Despicable Me 4 trailer for nostalgic purposes. And then after he finished watching, he joked in and asked himself the question, you know, this was a great film at the time. I wonder why they never made a sequel afterwards. Then a week later, this pops up, and it goes either the result of A, this isn't what I meant, or B, me and my big mouth. Despite it wasn't in mouth, it was a joke. I didn't think it was going to answer. Yeah, I mean, it honestly depends. Like, there are some people who think that maybe it would be worth it, maybe it won't, but yeah, it's just not, yeah, like, honestly, like I said before, this is a legitimate monkey's paw wish. This is someone holding up the monkey's paw and asking, I wish for a Megamind sequel and a Megamind series. That finger got curled, and we ended up with the massive cringe that is Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate. Or at least that's what we are seeing in the trailer. Let's see now. Oh, and by the way, we do have a quick result here. Will you be watching the Megamind sequel and series? And apparently, the grand majority of you just said no. We do have 3 votes that said yes, but yeah, most of you just decided to say no. Fair enough. I don't blame you all. Let's see, what else do we have here? I watched Megamind in 2010 in theaters when I was 11 years old, and while it wasn't DreamWorks' best movie, it was a fun film to watch. I know people have been begging for years for a theatrical sequel, but yikes, this is not what people have been asking, and I have never seen this much backlash for a DreamWorks project for quite some time. It looks cheap for the animation, and the action scenes and the voice acting sounds nothing at all. Not a good first impression at all upon seeing this mess. Yeah, I mean, like, there may be that chance that maybe it could actually turn out to be pretty good, but then again, based on what we have just seen here, it's hard to imagine if there can be any benefits, if, like, maybe seeing the movie and the series itself can prove us wrong, but this doesn't look like it could be that kind of case. Let's see, what other comments would there be? Just want to double check. Lightning McQueen's replacement voice does not work at all. Keith Ferguson is doing his best, but I really like trailer voiceovers. But I feel like trailer voiceovers not only exist for lesser products or direct-to-video stuff like the Bobblehead movie and now here. I know DreamWorks and using whatever IP they own, but still, I feel bad for this. I'm not interested in seeing it, but I don't want to be mean. Then again, 30 seconds of animation in 1 week, that is awful. Yeah, it's just, this is one of those cases. If this is true, then it really shows that the production did not go well, and the result pretty much shows. Let's see, what other comments would there be? I see an interesting one. I might watch this new series. However, it feels like a very cheap direct-to-DVD sequel. Never forget Ice Age Buck Wild. That's actually a pilot to a TV series. What the fridge happened, Universal? You have severely underestimated all the fans alike, myself included. Megamind truly deserved better, like a theatrical sequel instead. Exactly, like, it's just so many things about it that feels like Universal or DreamWorks, they were very not careful. Like, as much as I don't like Trolls Band Together, at the very least, like, they were careful in making sure that the animation stays in the same quality as the previous films, and that they did bring in the main voice actors to play their roles, like bringing back Justin Timberlake as Branch, as Anna Kendrick as Poppy. At least they were able to do that, despite the little to no effort that was put onto the writing whatsoever. But in here, however, it looks like there was no time. There was no budget in order to put in any form of effort whatsoever, and it's just a desperate cash grab to go and capitalize on the popularity of Megamind. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment before we go into the next break. Let's see. I'm quite excited that Megamind is coming back, considering that I adore the first movie. But then the trailer came in, and I gotta say, this is not my Megamind. What have they done to him? The animation is a big downgrade, Megamind's new voice is not the same, no offense, and everything else is just a mess. It's definitely a big example of what, be careful what you wish for. Man, they did Megamind dirty. Yeah, exactly. And just to let you know, if you are morbidly curious to see what they have done to Megamind, then once again, it's going to be coming soon to Peacock on March 1st. Now, we're going to go and try to wash our eyes off after that, and we're going to take a break, and we will be back to a project that we have talked about before, but this time around, it looks like the reception is starting to take an unexpected shift. So we'll be right back. All right, we are back. Now, for our next story that we are going to talk about, once again, we shall be bringing up the discussion of the upcoming Netflix live-action series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And so far, there have been a growing amount of hype that has been going on with the series, especially with the trailers that they have presented. And I mean, let's be honest, they have been very impressive so far, especially from a visual standpoint, where the settings look absolutely stunning, the characters look like they're going to stay true to who they are, at least in terms of their visuals, the effects are just absolutely gorgeous, especially to present the bending powers. The action looks absolutely epic. It looks like it could be on track in which Netflix could make lightning strike twice in turning a beloved animated IP into a live-action series. That may be what they have done with One Piece. They'll probably do the same with Avatar: The Last Airbender. But then last week happened, and oh boy, did things fall apart. And they fell apart very badly, in which the anticipation, let's just say that the hype pretty much peaked, and it's pretty much going downhill from there. And I will go and show you one example. Or in fact, the big reason as to why that nowadays the hype is becoming less and less is because of the interviews that have been released, specifically coming from the cast members and from the showrunners when they would open their big mouths in terms of what's going to be happening with the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series. And this is just one example that I do have here, in which it was actually an Entertainment Weekly interview with Kia Waititi, who's going to be playing Katara, and Ian Owsley, who's going to be playing Sokka. And they were talking about their characters and how things are going to be in the Netflix series. And one thing that they have mentioned is that they have done a significant update to the character of Sokka, saying that he is no longer going to be sexist. Just to go and read you here from my source on Variety, it states right here from a comment from both Ian Owsley and Kia Waititi, saying that there's more weight with realism in every way. I feel like we also took out the elements of how sexist Sokka was. I feel like there were a lot of moments in the original show that were iffy. Yeah, totally. There are things that were redirected just because it might play a little differently in live action. And again, this is just one example of some of the changes that they would go and do. And from there, suddenly the memories of what previously happened or what was previously reported about this live action Avatar series started to resurface. And from there, fans went from being excited to being a little bit more concerned. Another major change that they have revealed, or one major goal that this live action series wanted to do, is that they want Avatar: The Last Airbender to be Netflix's answer to Game of Thrones. That they want to appeal to Game of Thrones fans as much as Avatar fans. And from there, they want to go and try to do some updates in which it would be a lot more adult. Like, one prominent example is actually going to be right in the very beginning. Now, we all know the famous quote of everything is fine, but then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. And one thing that they really want to do is actually show that Fire Nation attack, where we actually do get to see the Fire Nation exterminating the air nomads. So that's one major thing that they really want to do in order to push up the maturity and add in some adultiness onto Avatar: The Last Airbender. And then there's also some other factors as well, like another example that I can go and think of is the fact that they really want to push more towards realism. And that's often a thing that, like, not just with the comment that we have seen here, but also several times that the showrunners and the cast would talk about trying to implement realism onto Avatar: The Last Airbender. And one thing that they have mentioned is that they're going to go and try to make it a lot more serialized, that they're going to make the plot be a lot more linear, where you would see like one after another with the episode telling this one long story, instead of having scenes where Aang and the gang, they would just go and take a detour and they would go and see like some random little events that would go and occur. And from there, that's where you see a lot of the hype just diminish, and suddenly people are starting to feel very turned off by the prospects of what we may get with the live action Avatar series. And it couldn't have come at such a worse time, because keep in mind, the release date is actually going to be coming pretty soon. I believe it's going to be coming out in, they said February 22nd? That's just going to be in a few weeks. So already that hype diminishing, that just spells bad news for Netflix. And I just want to go and state that when I first heard about this news over here, about the fact that they're going to take away Sokka's sexism, at first, I was starting to be opening up to the idea. Like, I was looking back into the Avatar series and I was thinking to myself, yeah, you know what? I see where you're kind of going with it, because it is technically true that there are some scenes where Sokka could be a bit of a misogynistic womanizer, he's always the one that's desperately trying to get the ladies, or there are some scenes where he would express some incel-like sexist views and stuff like that. But then I went and asked my friends who are major Avatar: The Last Airbender fans. So I shared this link and I asked them, what do you guys think about this? And they were expressing to me that this change was absolutely pointless, because in their words, they were saying that not only do we rarely see actual moments of Sokka being legitimately sexist, like the way that they are portraying here, but also it's from the fact that the only major time where we see Sokka's sexism really be out there was when Aang and the gang were in Kyoshi Island. And from there, when we do see Sokka being sexist, there actually was a purpose to it. We actually do see that, there is a point to having Sokka being seen as sexist, because the episode and the series wanted to show why misogyny is a bad thing, where we actually see Sokka go through this massive character arc, going from being this womanizer to respecting women a lot more. that was the whole purpose. It was to go and have a commentary against misogyny, against sexism, and all that kind of stuff. And to show that, yes, women are capable to do things that are normally viewed as male roles and stuff like that. And upon hearing about it and upon reflecting upon the whole situation, along with seeing how people are commenting about this, yeah, honestly, this right here, actually, it sounds more and more like it is a bad idea, because they're pretty much taking away not just an important commentary that is worth repeating and is worth talking about, how sexism is bad, especially in this day and age when incel culture is on the rise, but you're also taking away a significant factor that makes Sokka the character that we all know and love in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So basically, if you do take that flaw out of Sokka, then you don't necessarily have a whole lot. I mean, yeah, he'll still have his witty, smart aleck attitude, but you can only go so far with it. If you don't have any additional layers to show an arc that he could go into, then honestly, you're just going to end up making the character look more flat than what you may intend. And again, it is such a bad look upon the show, where instead of actually having a discussion to why sexism is bad, they're just completely ignoring it. They're pretty much taking the ignorant route, and it just makes them look about as bad as if they would to go and promote it. They're pretty much trying to say, there's no sexism in Ba Sing Se. And this is not even to mention about some of the other factors where people are talking about the possibility where they would go and take away the other elements that could show some character development. The fact that they really want to lean in on trying to make this a lot more serialized and not have any side episodes where it doesn't necessarily have much to do with the main plot, but they still serve a significant purpose to show a character arc to some of the characters, whether it be Aang or Katara or Toph or Zuko or anything like that. If you're going to take that away, then you're also taking away their character development as well. And honestly, looking back at my reactions to the trailers that we have seen, it honestly justifies something that I have been saying. And honestly, I didn't expect that it would be a highlight to a massive problem. You probably remember my reaction to the trailer to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I've mentioned that one criticism that I had is that we didn't see much of the character development. Yeah, you do get a little bit of a taste of Sokka's smart aleckiness and stuff like that, but other than that, we only had the characters just show up, and that's it. We don't necessarily have any we don't have anything more that we would see from them. We don't see legitimate character developments that are coming from characters like Aang or Katara or anything like that. And honestly, now I'm feeling like maybe they're not showing it much in the trailer because they don't have much to show in the first place. And that is massively concerning, because I've said this before, because when it comes to Avatar: The Last Airbender, the thing is that it's not just about the airbending and the action. Yeah, those things are great, but it's also about the characters. It's about their soul. It's about the arcs that they go through. And if you're not going to deliver much on that, you're not going to deliver much on Avatar: The Last Airbender in the first place. And not to mention, one of the biggest concerns that all this actually brings up is that it returns the controversial memory of the fact that the original creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender, they bailed out. And they bailed out on bad terms. Because you probably do remember the report that came out by saying that the original creators, they quit the production of the live-action remake of Avatar: The Last Airbender because of the fact that, they say that it was creative differences. But slowly but surely, we're starting to see more and more of these possible creative differences as to why they would go and bail out. And now people are starting to feel like they're becoming more in the shoes of those creators in particular, where from there, they would start to realize, oh, maybe we now see why is it that they quit. Maybe we understand why they're no longer going to be part of the show. And yeah, it's just not sending in any positive prospects of what would be to come in this. And I just want to go and make a clarification. I just want to go and make a big statement that I am not doing this to dissuade you from watching this series. I'm not trying to say that, okay, let's go 180 on our opinions and let's go and hate this now. Now we officially hate the Avatar live action series, so let's get angry and go against it with all of our might. I am not saying this whatsoever. If you're still planning on watching this, if you're still excited, if you still see the positives, please do so. Don't let any of what I'm saying to go and officially dissuade you from all of it. But it's just, these are things that, you have to go and also consider. And I will say, again, there are still some positives that we have been seeing so far. The trailers that we have seen, it doesn't change that they still look fantastic, that the visuals look absolutely amazing, and that the fight scenes look absolutely epic. There are still some things in there that are worth checking out and that they could meet up with the hype. I'm not taking that at all. I'm not taking that away at all. It's just that so far, there are just some factors where it feels like, yeah, there might be some negatives as well along with the positives, and that maybe this might not necessarily turn out to be the big second One Piece that we may be hoping for, especially with that whole thrive of realism and stuff like that. So yeah, honestly, overall, I just feel like when it comes to the prospects of the Avatar, The Last Airbender live action series on Netflix, I just feel like right now it's just very mixed. Like, yeah, you got some things that look very cool and very promising from the trailers, but if what they're saying here is true, where they're going to really try to change things up and try to make this Netflix's answer to Game of Thrones and take away some of the significant character developments of some of the characters, then at that point, I don't know, this might end up becoming more like the next Cowboy Bebop, or the next live action Cowboy Bebop, more so than it is the next One Piece right over here. So honestly, it's just we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, the series is going to be coming out in the next few weeks. Maybe it could turn out to be pretty great. Maybe it might not. But we'll see. In fact, I just want to double check if what I said was actually true. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I got the release correct. So the only way to find out if this truly is worth it will be when the series is going to be coming out on February 22nd on Netflix. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I want to ask you all, what do you all think now of the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series? Are you still excited to go and check this out? Are you a little bit concerned? Let me know what you think, and in fact, I think once again, I'm going to go and do another poll. So, I'm just going to go and do that as well to see what you all may think on this. And here we go. So let me just ask, along with what I've said, will you be watching the Netflix live action Avatar series? So it'll be a yes, and then there will also be a no. Okay. So, or you know what? I'll also add another option. I'll wait until the reactions are out. Oops. Okay, no, I can't. Okay, I cannot add that. Never mind. Just a yes or no. So let's see. So I'll just add that. We'll see what people have to say. Anyways, let's see what the chat wall has to say over here. Got to say, this is a bit of a train wreck. It's one thing to update the series to acknowledge outdated elements. Then there's another thing to completely not understand the context of the scene or the importance of the story. Say what you will about the M. Night Shyamalan movie, at least he tried to be faithful to the series. This one sounds like they don't care about the original series and just wants to be Game of Thrones, even if it's 10 years ago and nobody's interested anymore. And not to mention that it could end up bringing back memories about that infamous last season. I haven't seen it, but oh boy, have I heard a lot of bad things about it. Let's see what else we got here. As someone who absolutely loves the original series, this honestly made me concerned. Sokka's sexism played a part in his character development, and now they're removing a part of him. And frankly, while I'm still willing to give this a chance, I'm expecting this to value style over substance. Although I would still debatably say this still won't be as much of a disaster as the 2010 movie. I mean, that is true. At least visually, it looks way better than the 2010 film. But in this case, how the writing quality is going to be, that remains to be seen. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is very concerning about the about what Netflix could have done with the Avatar characters. One of the reasons why we love the original series in the first place wasn't only the airbending and its amazing animation, but it was the characters like Aang, Katara, Sokka that really made the show for me. Now to think about it, I'm going to rewatch the show after the podcast. God, I love the show. I don't blame you right there. Okay, so Sokka being less sexist is stupid because of character development, but not necessarily a deal breaker. Serializing this story to be expected when it's an 8-episode season, however, the yikes part for me is potentially showing the Fire Nation commit the Airbender genocide, to which, yes, they are absolutely going to do. Like, it feels like Netflix isn't just taking the Game of Thrones route, but also potentially cruelty for the sake of it, like Dahmer. I don't think we'll see a season 2 for the show or finish the story. That depends. I think we'll have to wait and see. We'll see how the first responses are going to be. We'll see if it will be successful enough. I mean, even bad shows can get a second season and stuff like that. So honestly, I'm still at the point where, like, maybe it will, maybe it might not, but we'll just have to wait and see. Let's see now. What other comments? I'll be straight. I didn't think it was much of a big deal at first. I figured at first that this does have the sense of effort that they really try to make the series more different than the animated one. Then when being put into discussion about it, now I see why it was not bright at all. While I thought of Sokka more of his joking side, I completely forgot that development. That development that he had in his early season. And now this might be quite the hiccup by the time it'll be released. And by the way, apparently the poll is done, and apparently most of you actually said no. Well, it's actually more of a bigger divide. Apparently it's more like, 63% of you said no, while 37% of you said yes. I wish I was able to go and put in the option of, like, you're going to wait until you hear what the reactions are. You're going to wait until what the word of mouth says. But, yeah, so far it seems like a lot of the news that's been reported is going to hold a lot of people back from actually watching the series. Let's see now. This sounds very concerning now that I have heard this news. If you remove one crucial element that made one of the characters like Sokka to be what they are in terms of character development, then you won't feel emotional about one of the characters. I still have concerns about this series as I want this to be as faithful to the animated show, but what costs in terms of taking away some of the important elements, very nervous still. All right. Let's see what other things that we have. What other comments would there be? I think I might go with one more before we go into the final story. I think I say or commented best that we should not put in sexism, racism, and other unfairness about bigotry unless doing so when committing to it on how not to ever encourage it. And on a side note, I was hoping that they also explore and learn from not only One Piece, but also Square Enix when doing Final Fantasy VII Remake that, yes, we can embrace realism and the modernity, but not push it too far and crossing the line. Yeah, who knows? I mean, from the sound of it, with the way that they want to be realistic and they want to be, like, up with the times and try to hide away any of the controversial aspect, like the sexism, it looks like there is a chance that it could be the series' Achilles heel, and it might end up becoming one of the most disappointing shows of the year. But who knows? Again, we'll only wait and see when the series does come out on February 22nd on Netflix, and then we'll fully determine if the show is worth it or not. And with that said, we are going to go into one more story. We're going to have one more break, and when we do come back, we are going to go into some theme park news and something that is truly defined as epic. So stay tuned for that. And now, folks, it is time that we shall go and cap this episode off with the grand finale. And for this grand finale, yes, we are going to be stepping aside from TV shows and movies and stuff like that, and we are going to go into the realm of theme parks because, well, oh boy, excuse me, folks. But yes, we are going to be looking into theme parks, and with this news in particular, oh boy, did it build up some excitement. This is actually a brand new update coming from Universal, out of all places, in which they have revealed a brand new section to their theme parks. And oh boy, does it truly define its name. So let's go ahead and discuss about their upcoming Epic Universe. Now, for a while, we have heard about the prospects of a third gate coming to Universal Orlando called Epic Universe, but we don't necessarily know much details of what's going to be in there. A lot of people have made a lot of speculations of which themes are going to be within the parks or what's going to be included and all that kind of stuff. But apparently, some of that actually turned out to be true, where last week, Universal officially revealed some information about what is in store with Epic Universe, which will be set to open in 2025. All right, so go and imagine this. So you got this entire new section that will be opening close to Universal Studios Orlando. And in this section, there is going to be this one massive hub, and it will be divided into 4 different themed areas based on popular IPs. And the main hub, first and foremost, believe it or not, is actually going to be something original. It's going to be something called Celestial Park. And I'm going to go and read you here from my source on The Hollywood Reporter to go and explain what this Celestial Park is. A gateway to Epic Universe's 4 other realms, Celestial Park serves as the first stop for all park guests and will feature in-park accommodations, fountain shows, a wet play area, a carousel, a dual launch racing coaster, and themed restaurants and shops. The grand centerpiece of Celestial Park is Constellation Carousel, an all-ages attraction that takes guests on a whirl through the Milky Way. The park attendees will not only glide forward and backwards on constellations, but make 360-degree rotations in what the park describes as a dance of music and starlight. So basically, imagine Disney's Fantasia, but in the form of a carousel. And I don't mean the one like in Shanghai Disneyland, or I think it's Hong Kong Disneyland, or something like that in one of the Chinese parks, but like literally take the theme of Fantasia and you turn that into a carousel. And that's what they're trying to do here. Anyways, among the park's other attractions is the Starfall Racers, which launches guests into a rocketing race along 5,000 feet of track aboard competing comets, reaching up to 62 miles an hour and heights of 133 feet. A dual racing attraction, the coaster also features various maneuvers such as the Celestial Spin, which sees 2 vehicles perform an inverted crisscross while speeding through the air. But wait, hold on, there is a little bit more to go and read. There we go, don't go and highlight too much. A central and immersive feature to the parks will be the interactive wet play area Astronomica, a collection of crystal blue fountains that spring to life around guests. The attraction doubles as a giant compass, pointing park attendees to the various lands of Epic Universe. Additional fountain shows, some reaching up to 135 feet in the air, and programmed to sway to music and interactive lighting day-round, will be located through the land's 7-acre waters. And this is not even to mention about the themed restaurants and shops that will be scattered all around, including an Asian-themed restaurant in which has a massive blue dragon centerpiece there. And of course, we cannot forget about the brand new massive hotel that's also going to be featured, in which they call it the Universal Helios Grand Hotel, a 500-room hotel that even within will also feature its own shops and its own restaurants. But that's not the main thing that you want to hear. What you truly want to hear is the themed lands. I mean, Celestial Park is cool, but what about the other areas? What are going to be the big IPs that you could go and find within, that's going to be within Epic Universe? Well, to go into it, you got 4 major ones that are going to be featured, and the first one they have is going to be Harry Potter. Specifically, that new area is going to be called Harry Potter, or the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, to which it says here, where park attendees will experience the 1920s era of the Wizarding World. This land features a blend of Paris in the Fantastic Beasts films and the British Ministry of Magic from the Harry Potter series. And of course, one thing that is clearly obvious is that Epic Universe is going to be the home of the Florida version of Super Nintendo World. So chances are it's going to be like the same that we see in Tokyo and in Hollywood, where it will feature the Yoshi ride, the Mario Kart ride, and quite possibly as well as the upcoming Donkey Kong coaster, in which they did promise that it's going to be the place where you're going to meet up with Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Donkey Kong. And then from there, we also got an entire world that will be entirely based on how to train your dragon, to which they call it How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. Now, keep in mind that DreamWorks is also doing an update on their kids section, where instead of being themed to Fievel, it will be themed to various DreamWorks properties, such as Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, Trolls, and all that kind of stuff. But How to Train Your Dragon, however, is going to be getting its own land. And then finally, the last land that will be featured is the Dark Universe. And I know that is something that brings in fear to people, and people are just going to be like, wait. Are you saying the Dark Universe is coming back? Are they going to try again to go and make this Dark Universe with Tom Cruise and with the Mummy, and then they're bringing in Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? No. This is going to be more its own Dark Universe, which will primarily be based on the 1930s and 1940s movies. It's going to be more on those classic Universal monsters with Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and all that kind of stuff. Now, unfortunately, we do not have a confirmation of what rides are going to be featured. We can only make, at best, we can only make a guess as to what is to come in the Nintendo section. But what we do know, however, is that it will all be opening in 2025. Apparently, it's going to happen next year. And on top of that, they even mentioned that in total, together the five lands will feature more than 50 attractions, entertainment, dining, and shopping experiences. So that's the major news that we have heard about Epic Universe, and I'm not gonna lie, I was blown away. And I mean, if this didn't convince you enough, on top of that, Universal also released a 7-minute video talking about Epic Universe. Like, you could go and find it. It's called Introducing Universal Epic Universe. And from there, they would go into detail about some of the things that I've talked about, really go into Celestial Park and giving us little tidbits of what's to come with How to Train Your Dragon, with Dark Universe, with Ministry of Magic, and with Super Nintendo World. And from there, you also get like a visual example of what's going to be in it. And oh my God, I'm not going to lie, as a theme park fan myself, I was blown away from what we have witnessed. it was just like, honestly, it is crazy to see the things that they are going to be planning for this upcoming universe. I mean, seriously, just like, especially with the theming of what they have with all the constellations, with all the stars, and then you got like these giant portals that bring you to this gate, that brings you to this new world that they want to invite you into. Like, honestly, it really does sound exciting and really put in the theme in theme parks. And even though we don't have much info on like what is the meat of the entire place, like we don't have much info of what's going to be within Ministry of Magic or Dark Universe or whatever, one thing I was massively shocked about is Celestial Park. It's the fact that Universal actually made an entire themed area with rides in it that is not based on any IP whatsoever. Coming from Universal especially, that is a massive shock, because I thought that original IPs in theme parks in Orlando, I thought it's a thing of the past. Like, once Disney gave up on that, like, we would never really see that again. But then Universal stepped in and they decided to go and make Celestial Park. Like, that thing, I gotta say, from the concepts and from the examples that they have shown, it looks freaking incredible. Like, the best way to go and describe it is that it reminds me a lot of Tomorrowland in Disneyland Paris. And keep in mind, the one in Paris is not like the same Tomorrowlands that you would get in Disneyland and in the Magic Kingdom and stuff. Like, they did it so differently, where they decided to go a bit more timeless, where it's actually more steampunk themed and it's more like inspired by Jules Verne, like those kinds of stories. And even like when you see what they have done with all the different things with Celestial Park and the kinds of rides that they want to introduce, like there is a bit of that Jules Verne's like inspiration. There is more of that timeless feel that doesn't feel like something that is based on Tomorrowland. It feels like something that is inspired by like the old astronomers and stuff like that. It would bring you back to a time where people are still discovering the stars and they're still trying to figure out what they look like with the comets and all that kind of stuff. Like the aesthetic, I gotta say, what they're planning for it looks absolutely beautiful. And not to mention like the main pillars that they are presenting, like the gateways that they have this beautiful transition. It's not like you would go in and immediately it's like, oh, like, okay, you're seeing the whole theme of stars, and then suddenly, here's a pipe going to Mario World, or here's Frankenstein's castle where you could go into the horror stuff. It's not like that at all. They still maintain that theme, but it's like you see a smooth transition. It's a lot like what Disney would do in the Magic Kingdom. It's not like, it's not like a jarring experience jumping from Tomorrowland to Fantasyland. No, they make sure that the transition goes very smoothly, that like you slowly into that next world. And that's exactly what they're doing here. So like the pillars that they are presenting, I gotta say, are massively impressive. And I hate to say this, but so far from what they are showing with Epic Universe, this thing is really it's giving Disney a run for their money, because this feels like a legitimate reason why you should go to Orlando, specifically to Universal Studios. Like, not just to experience Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, but also the addition of hanging out in Universal Epic Universe. Now, like, beforehand, I feel like with Universal Studios, it's the kind of theme park where, like, you could do everything you want in just a few days. You don't have to spend a week-long vacation for that. But in this case, this could change everything, especially with the addition of Super Nintendo World. Like, now you could go to Orlando and go into those Mario rides. Like, oh, that's going to be a major seller right there. Although I will say that my one criticism that I do have with Epic Universe is that, honestly, I don't see why we need another Harry Potter themed area. I mean, nothing against the franchise. I mean, a lot against the mentally challenged creator. Well, not mentally challenged, but the mentally problematic creator that seriously needs therapy to cure her transphobia. But going into like Ministry of Magic with like adding in another Harry Potter themed area, I feel like it's a little bit much. I mean, we already have a major Harry Potter section in Universal Studios, and then there's also Diagon Alley in Islands of Adventure, and okay, I can understand, like, you're also making some kind of pathway, like a little bit of a connection between the two also. Like, okay, I get that, but also adding in another Harry Potter section, that just feels like a bit much, and now it just feels like Universal is a bit oversaturated with Harry Potter. It's kind of like if Disney would go and make a Star Wars themed area in all of the parks in Walt Disney World. Like, not just Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios, but they would also make one for the Magic Kingdom, for Animal Kingdom, and for Epcot. You know, if they would do that, it would just feel like it's a little bit too much. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm feeling right now with what they are doing with Harry Potter. I mean, maybe the place is going to look amazing, but I don't know. It just feels unnecessary, especially if they're going to do something that is themed to Fantastic Beasts. And honestly, like, that thing turned out to be a massive failure. I don't know. I'm just not necessarily, like, I feel like there could, that area could have been themed to something else other than Harry Potter, considering that we already got more than enough in both Universal Studios and in Islands of Adventure. But other than that, though, everything else looks massively impressive. And yeah, even I'm kind of considering that if I do go back to Orlando one day, I think I would go, like, it would be to go to Universal Studios. Like, yeah, I'll probably go back for Disney World, of course, but, like, I would probably have to I would have to save more time and probably more money, because I know Universal can be expensive as heck, to go in there and see what they got with the Epic Universe. And if you are excited to see what is in store with the Epic Universe, then keep in mind, it will be opening in Orlando next year in 2025. Alright, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I'd like to ask you all, what do you think so far of the Epic Universe? Are you all excited for this? Do you have any questions about it? Let me know what you think. Alright, so let's see what we got for comments. Let's see. I gotta say, this announcement was fantastic. For me, I am absolutely excited for Orlando's version of Super Nintendo World, and I can imagine this is going to be a massive hit for Universal. Although one thing I'm not looking forward to is all the controversy that could come out for being that there is another Harry Potter area in Universal. Oh yeah, and I mean, especially like with the controversy, like as long as J.K. Rowling remains controversial, the subject of Harry Potter in general is going to be controversial. And when you see Universal still trying to exploit the fanfare of Harry Potter, despite still like having a massive and very dedicated audience, like, yeah, there's going to be like some drama and some unpleasant discussions that will be involved. All right, let's see now. Definitely promising and exciting. I definitely want to go there, but I do wish the Harry Potter theme... Oh, fudge, okay. Now people are bringing up their comments. Anyways, do wish the Harry Potter themed area, which Universal says is not Harry Potter themed, but Fantastic Beasts themed, was Shrek or Kung Fu Panda or Puss in Boots or El Dorado and other DreamWorks properties here, there, that aren't necessarily kid themed, but otherwise looking forward to this. 100% definitely going to see if I get my tickets. For the first year it comes out, I'm hoping that Super Nintendo World is unique and not just a copy of Japan. Okay. Anyways, this is honestly a great idea coming from Universal. I am excited. What I'm excited for is Super Nintendo World, where they're gonna add the Donkey Kong Country World. I wonder if I can hug there like I hugged Princess Peach. Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, or Dixie Kong. Overall, back to the ideas in general, I'm looking forward to Celestial Parks, and I'm pretty curious about Dark Universe. Since I'm moving to Alabama in November, I would definitely gonna be planning to go there next year when it opens. All right. Epic Universe does sound quite amazing so far based on its concepts. We just need to wait and see how the execution is going to go. Personally, I already have a Super Nintendo World in Hollywood, but I'll still want to come to Florida, all because of Dark Universe. Once this is successful, Walt Disney World would definitely consider building their own theme park with blackjacks and hookers by building a 5th theme park if they want to. Maybe this year's D23, and also make the theme park based on, and the comment stops there. But I will say, honestly, yeah, this is something that should sound the alarms for Disney. This is something in which they need to go and show that there's a lot more planned to Disney World. They need to go and present a lot more things to really win back audiences. If they want to convince people that they can bring out some stuff that is as amazing as what Epic Universe is looking so far, then yeah, they really got to go big with this year's D23. Like, honestly, that's one thing I'll keep my eye out on. How are they going to go and try to top Universal with their announcements for Walt Disney World? Let's see here. Epic Universe, I think this might be the last, actually, this might be the last comment I'll read for today's episode. Epic Universe looks like it's going to be big when it comes out in 2025. I know they were going to bring out Super Nintendo Land and Wizarding World of Harry Potter in their land, but I didn't know they were going to bring How to Train Your Dragon and even the Universal monsters under Dark Universe in this theme park as well. This is going to cost money for sure, but I would definitely be down to check it out. Also, who is ready for Super Bowl Sunday, because we might get potential trailers? Oh yeah, well, I mean, then again, we'll have to wait next week on that. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And boy, am I glad that this turned out to be such a great episode and everything working out well. And with that said, I want to say that if you all would like to go and follow more of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't forget to go and subscribe to the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel and the Animat Live Twitch channel. And don't forget to go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening on, whether it be on Spotify, Google, iTunes, or Amazon. I was trying to think of the list. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going in my usual order. Okay, but I got it now. But anyways, with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.